All right. And welcome to episode 4 of Police Box Paradox. We will probably call the episode A Town Called Mercy. I am Wes. I am here with Michael.
Oh.
And Kyle.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Kyle's been back and forth. He was in an episode, wasn't in an episode, now he's in an episode again. He likes to jump in companion style when he can get near a computer. We have all seen episode 3 of series 7, A Town Called Mercy, which is airing in the U.S. on BBC America as we speak. We happen to have early copies and have already seen it, and hopefully can get this all online before the episode. Well, I guess the episode will be over, but it'll be online as soon as you're done and listening to this.
This will be on iTunes prior to the episode being available on
That's
iTunes.
true. This will definitely be available, I would say, before 11 p.m. So we have just watched it. It is fresh on our minds. I'm excited to talk about this episode because I'm going to go ahead and jump right out and say it. I love this episode. We've got some feedback already online that some people thought it was good, but didn't really hit with them. It hit with me. Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was a solid episode. I'm going to say other things about it later that people are going to be upset when I get so excited to talk about it. Not that I think this is the best episode by any stretch, but I have other ideas on it. I guess we'll start out since I love it. What did you all think about the episode tonight when it was on?
Kyle, you're welcome to go first.
Well, in true Doctor Who fashion, I thought it was fantastic.
Well, was it now?
I really did enjoy it. I mean, we don't really have any big story arcs going on right now that we are aware of. But
good point. We'll come back to that.
I thought it was a very strong standalone episode, and it sort of reminded me of the classic David Tennant episode with the werewolf.
Really?
Just solid all the way through. I mean, I really did enjoy watching it. I mean, I loved it.
Michael, what did you think?
I will come out and admit that I figured out of the first 5, this was going to be the down, like the bottom of the 5, and I have been proven wrong at this point. I'm up there with you all on it. I enjoyed it much more than I had anticipated, so...
I think here's the problem that I think people are going to have is this season opened up so strong, and not just strong from the fact that it was a good singular episode, but one with Oswald that was a spoiler we weren't expecting. We're not used to real deal spoilers. Stuff leaks so much that it makes it difficult to not know something big's coming. And in this situation, we got blown away that it happened. So you start with that wonderful episode. It makes it hard to go anywhere but there, especially with everyone and everyone that's watching. We stay spoiler free. If it's not happened on the current episode or before in the history of Doctor Who or in the upcoming episode, we stay away from it, except for one thing, and I don't consider it as much a spoiler because it is so out there in every news outlet, and Stephen Moffat won't shut up about it, that Amy and Rory will be leaving the show in episode 5. Shut up, you know it. You know so much stuff that we have to keep you muted to keep ruining things for people.
That's what I was about to say. Don't worry if you're worried about spoilers. Wes will mute me and then come kill me.
I think the fact that we started so strong with the new companion we didn't know was happening, and we know we're working towards their exit of the show, that we're in this weird limbo. We're in this weird, lost before they found out they had an ending date, where we're kind of treading water, because we didn't really go anywhere on dinosaurs on a spaceship, even though I enjoyed the episode, although not nearly as much as I did this one. And the same thing tonight, we have an episode that you literally could take this episode, pull it out of where it is in Season 7, and put it in the middle of Season 5. Mm-hmm. I mean, it could fit anywhere because of it works so well, which is kind of, I think, and I'll go ahead and get into it since it just needs to happen. I think that because here's what happens. When people say they want to watch Doctor Who, I always end up apologizing for the first season and tell them, about the budget concerns and, it's a kind of cheesy show the first season before they really get run. It's great, but a lot of people tend to give up on it. I tell them, if you want to see if you're going to like the show, I want you to go and watch Blink. Because to me, Blink is a perfect standalone episode. You don't need any information before or after. You can watch it, get in, and get out. However, it lets you know how the show hits you. I think that while this is nowhere near as good as Blink, I'm not saying that. This isn't in my top probably 20 episodes of Doctor Who. I just enjoy it. I do think from a pull it out and look at it standpoint, this gives you a good concept of what Doctor Who is. You get a lot of things. Now, I'm sure we're going to get into the genocide of this guy's people and the time lock and Gallifrey and the time war and all things here in a little while. But it's that even if you don't understand that, even watching, you don't know that the Doctor has killed all the Daleks, even though he didn't really, and he's killed all the Time Lords, even though he didn't really. You still get that feeling as if something big happened. So this may be, after I watch it again, another good gateway to test people, because here's why I always hate that I tell people to start with Blink. Because when you start with Blink, you've started with the greatest episode that's ever been made. There's nowhere else to go. There's nothing that's going to top that in my mind. So this may be a way to get people in without giving that up. I don't know. That's something that could be debated later on. But again, I really enjoyed the episode, and I guess what do you all want to start with talking? Because I've got a lot of different people I want to address as far as was in the episode and how it went. Probably my biggest thing coming out that I really not disliked, but it bothers me, because about 20 minutes into this episode, I said I can't wait for that episode where Isaac comes back and gets to be a companion for an episode or two, because the Marshal was amazing. I loved the character. Did he stand out to you all? Did you not care as much about it? Because I loved him. I thought he was a great character.
That guy has been in so many other shows. I think I had a problem getting past that.
Okay. Well,
because it was like, okay, he's gonna go out into the desert and go back through the Stargate, and he's gonna. What else was he in? Before Stargate, what was that show that he was on before that? No, he's been on like 3 sci-fi shows that have been on the Sci-Fi Channel or something. So I've seen him before. But the way I could easily see him do that. I mean, I thought it surprised me they killed him. It
shocked me.
That surprised me. Even after he got shot, I was like, okay, well, he's just injured. When it showed the cyborg display and said, what was it, life signs decreasing or something, I was like, really?
Yeah. Yeah. I even thought when I saw it, I was like, they can still save him. They can make this all right.
Yeah. I mean, I was kind of in denial until.
Did you like him, Kyle?
Yeah, I enjoyed the character for what he was. Of course, he wasn't in the episode very much, and I sort of wish we could have saw a little bit more of him. But yeah, I thought he was a pretty strong character for what he was.
To me, he was an okay character up until the point that, one, he stood up and saved the Doctor because you knew he was trying to do good and not just kill somebody for the sake of killing somebody. But when he jumped in front of the bullet, I was like, this dude, or the laser, it's the same thing. When he took the hit, I thought, this dude is going to be for real. Because I liked his demeanor, I liked his acting, and now that I know that he's in other stuff, I go watch other stuff just because of that. Because here's the thing, and Kyle wasn't on last week, and we discussed it a little tonight when he was here. There seems to be a tendency right now to keep introducing us to characters that we have no idea who they are. Like the hunter that I still don't remember his name, and probably will never remember his name. He's just the hunter from the last episode when there were dinosaurs on a plane. Or there's not snakes on a plane, there's dinosaurs on a spaceship. And he worked for what he was, but we just keep getting things. Nefertiti's different because she's Nefertiti. But with this, they gave us somebody new, and I liked him. Then, of course, we have what really turns out to be the real bad guy, the Doctor's new doctor. He's a medical doctor, not
the alien doctor.
The alien doctor,
Dr. Jax.
Dr. Jax. Good. Okay. See, Kyle remembers. He's the one. Dr. Jax is on there, and it turns out he's the bad guy. Now, I thought this was very poignant. I wish, because it all pushes us to the Doctor being so angry he does things that he doesn't normally do. And, of course, that path we start, which I think to do it properly, we should have been building it from a previous episode anyway. The Doctor realizes, and the Jax even says that he's looking into a mirror because the doctor did similar things. Now, he didn't experiment on people, but he was responsible for the death of an entire group of people in his mind, even though we've come to find out that the master escaped, and they're apparently not all really dead. They're in a time lock and kind of existing in a loop.
They're there.
Yeah, they're there for that episode. We need to break them out.
Timothy Dalton gets to come out and play James Bond once in a while.
How would you not want to have Timothy Dalton? There's no excuse where you would go, you know what, I don't want Timothy Dalton. I always want Timothy Dalton. With that kind of back and forth, and I found it interesting. The doctor was I think he wanted to force Jex out simply because he thought that might give some retribution for what he had done. Am I reading too much into this?
I'm along the same lines because I was about to say the same thing. So no, I will say no. You're not. I'll reassure you.
I like to be reassured. It makes me feel better about myself, to be quite honest.
In the world of physics, if three people agree on something, it must be true, and that's what I was thinking. The Doctor was sort of vicariously using Dr. Jex as a way of taking care of his own mistakes of the past. Yes,
which
I agree.
I think this episode is way deeper than maybe some people are realizing, because I've looked on Twitter and we've not got any responses yet, but I think a lot of our listeners don't listen as we record live. They're watching the show now, and they'll be downloading this podcast later, so we don't have a lot of feedback that way.
I was looking at the things too. One of the last ones, Jake, he pretty much said what you said a few minutes ago.
Yeah,
about starting off so high and everything else. So
yeah, it's just such a good season. I'm really excited where this is going, but I've seen some people that are a little disappointed, and I'm hoping it's just because we started so well. But my thing is, I thought this was a better episode than Dinosaurs on a Spaceship. It wasn't as funny. I mean, it wasn't as overly comical. It was just a better episode.
I mean, I'm trying to think, was there that many comical aspects other than Rory, which, I mean, that's why he's there half the time. I mean, getting the looks and everything else. I mean, especially towards the end, about the most comical thing I can think of off the top of my head is when the one guy came, the priest or whoever he was, came in and said he needed to see the marshal, and he said ma'am to Amy, and then he just said, what'd he say?
Fella.
Fella.
He said fella.
Fella.
I think it had its humor early on, but the more serious a tone it took, they just stayed away from it, which I think was smart, because it would have taken away from the impact of everything. The last real funny run I think we had was with the horse. He had his dialogue back and forth with the horse, which is always funny, because the Doctor can talk to animals and infants, and that's a show in itself.
Which just adds here. We'll have to have a show on this to where Chris Hardwick and all them. Is it Chris Hardwick that talks about how James Bond is really a doctor? I mean,
yes, I believe it is. I believe you're right.
Okay, and now I'm going to go on argument that saying so's Dr. Dolittle.
You think so? Dr. Dolittle is a Time Lord, is what you're saying.
He's a Time Lord. Absolutely.
I'm sorry.
I'm gonna let that.
How many? I mean, how does it go from who was the first Dr. Dolittle, like way back when?
I don't know. I mean, I don't have that. This is Doctor Who. I don't have the history of. I don't know who was in Flubber, the son of Flubber.
I'll end this. How else do you get to Eddie Murphy?
Well, if you say Eddie Murphy's a doctor, I'm going to kick you off your own show. It's going to happen. But I can't have that. I can't have that happen. So I think that was where the comic elements kind of went. Now, yeah, there were some subtle things here and there. Since you were talking about when the priest came in, I really, really liked the scene that followed when the preacher came in and got him and took him out, and he was talking to the townspeople, because of the last line he really has to the human who was wanting to kill him. You know, the 19-year-old boy, the kid that said he was almost 19. He said, so 18, which I thought was a fabulous line in any movie, regardless of what it was. I thought it was a great line. And he goes out and he has that conversation. The kids, let him, take a walk. We'll take care of this for you and all that. He leaves with, he says, is he worth saving? I'm not sure, but you are. That's a powerful line. To me, that tells more about the Doctor than maybe any other thing we could say, because he has an obscure fondness for the human race.
Yes, and I wrote down 2 lines from that.
Okay,
and there's one other line he had before that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say it, I'll read it, and see if you think it's either foreshadowing or just kind of calling back to A Good Man Goes to War and everything else.
There's a lot of reminiscence of Good Man Goes to War in this episode.
The line, I wrote it down quick, so I don't know if it's exact, but he said something to him along the lines of, "Violence doesn't end violence; it extends it."
Yeah, I forgot that line. That's a good line. There's a weirdness to me in A Good Man Goes to War, specifically because even though the scene about Colonel Runaway is fabulous,
yes,
it's also the Doctor going farther than I've ever seen him go towards what I could only term the dark side. He is so pained that he goes somewhere else with it. And between that line and then Amy having to come in and be the voice of reason, saying that's not how we roll, that she's right. That's not how the Doctor rolls at all. And in this occurrence, he was willing to basically send someone to their death, which he allowed someone to die in the last episode, but he didn't send him to his death really as much. That guy made his own bed, now he laid in it. And I guess you could make the argument that so did Jax, but I don't know. It's a weird place where the Doctor has gone, and we spent the end of last season talking about how he had gotten too big for himself, how he had become more of an ideal. He's the Batman. He's become more of an ideal than what he truly was because, he had so much notoriety as the person who was doing all these things, whereas before he was the guy that bounced around and fixed small things. And I think that was a good choice from the show standpoint because going into last season, I think we all had that same feeling of you just did the second Big Bang. How are you going to top that? You saved the all known existence and unknown existence by recreating the Big Bang. So, how do you top that? If you have to push the stakes in the next season, how do you do that? And I think they got away with it last season by making it the universe was going to end again if it didn't happen a certain way. But we have to get somewhat back to these smaller stories where he's doing good on a small level so that we can have a big, exciting finale in some case.
Personal stories.
And personal stories are what's working. I think those personal stories work, and I think that's where we need to go. And I think because we've not had an overarching story that we're aware of, this is the third episode of the season. Third time Christmas has been referenced. We know we're getting a new companion in the third series, or in the Christmas episode. We keep building towards that, and I think there's a bigger story to come, and whatever that story is has to play into.
And that was something else I was going to ask, as I couldn't ask. Okay, one thing I was going to bring up the fact that it was kind of nice to just jump into this one instead of seeing the Doctor had to pick him up and do that.
But he obviously did. He obviously did go pick him up.
But I was about to say, okay, we kind of had a time frame last time, so we don't know how long it's been since the last time he had him, except he said that he was 1,200 years old now.
Right.
That means it's another 100 years since last season for him. So not only is there a Christmas hint, reference every episode, they're given at least some sort of time frame reference in regards to him or the pawns within each episode.
So basically we're to believe that he
has known, for him, he's known Amy, 300 years almost?
Yeah.
For him?
Yeah.
So.
And there is even a line in the episode when the Doctor's actually got a gun in his hand, getting ready to execute Dr. Jax himself. Amy says, "This is what happens when you've traveled alone too long."
Too long being the key to the line. So he's been on the road for a while by himself, because if it's to be believed that we've seen all of his adventures with them in the past 100 years of his life, they've only been with him a month, maybe.
Yeah.
Because you
can actually see it. They make sure that he has that deflated look every time they're asking to go back.
Yeah.
You get that one shot of him just, okay. So
yeah, he misses them, but he has given them their life. We'll talk about the preview for next week's episode because it speaks to that somewhat. I think it's amazing we've got this far into this episode, which I don't even know how long we've been on. But we've got this far in the episode. We've not even talked about what we thought was the bad guy when the episode started, and probably the coolest dude in the entire episode, and that's the gunslinger. This dude is gangster with it. He's got forearm blasters. He's on a mission. He's got some type of ethical stance where he's not going to kill the innocent. He is pretty raw with it.
He's a Western RoboCop.
I did not think of it that way. You, sir, again blow my mind on another episode. He is a Wild Wild West RoboCop. Nice, Mike. Nice. Did you didn't think he was cheap? I didn't think he was at all. I dug him. I think if this was a few seasons ago, he would have been cheesy. But where they keep pumping in more money these episodes, the production value has gone through the roof.
Not only the production value and the costume and everything else took away. I don't think it was cheesy because you could actually see the skin. You know, they made a point to make you could see the skin, but the fact that they actually made it a character with layers and there's depth. It's just not a guy walking. In 45 minutes they make this guy.
And I want him back. I want more episodes. I want there to come a time where we need to call in some friends again. Let's call him in because that dude can get busy with it. Yes. I like him. I'm telling you. I thought he was a good bad guy / non-bad guy /
the fact that they showed that he's around for hundreds of years after the fact, that they can go back to him whenever they want to.
Do you think that girl talking about her great-great-grandmother, do you think we meet her at any point? Do you think she plays in?
Okay. Is that not the second or third time we've had somebody narrating to?
Mm-hmm. Is it her voice? I don't think it's her voice.
I don't think it's her voice, but it's like someone is telling stories.
Mm-hmm.
This is like, yes, the show stories about the doctor, blah blah blah.
Right.
It's like someone is telling stories now. It's like it's like you should see the opening to Winnie the Pooh and the doctor bouncing on the letters as they start opening the story, and the book opens and you see the story, and then the book closes at the end. I mean, with the narrations that they're opening and closing the episodes with, it kind of feels like that.
Well, and here's something that I don't know if our British listeners know it, because I think it was just a BBC America thing last season. They don't do it this season. I actually don't know if they did the entire season last year, to be honest.
I'm glad. I know what you're about to say, and I'm glad they're not doing it.
Right. There was an opening on the BBC America version of last season that had Amy telling a story, basically, about when I was a little girl, there was a make-believe Raggedy Man who came to my house. Like, I had an imaginary friend, and she tells a little story. And if you had never watched Doctor Who, you would think that this is a show about her.
Yeah.
Instead of the Doctor. And that's why I didn't care. It was cute. I liked it in a vacuum, but in accordance with everything in the show.
Constantly, yes.
Yeah, it wasn't my thing.
When I saw it opening the new season, I was like, okay, this is fine, because they're expecting new people to come in and start watching, and they're hoping, so it's kind of an introduction, remembering. But after 2 or 3 episodes, and the first thing you see is Amy's house in that opening, it was just like,
right.
No.
But that is her telling a story.
Yes.
And do you think that maybe they're telling a story, like you're saying the storybook closes, does the storybook close on Amy? Is that where we're going with
they
it?
change how the format goes? I mean, they're changing everything else. Even Moffat's come out and said that he starts changing based on who he's around.
Right.
Because he changes his clothes and everything.
Which we've seen
a couple of pictures of, so... So I don't know if they're going something with that or not. But
well, not to get into next week's episode, but there was a narration by Amy about the events taking place
in the preview for you're right. There was another narration.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's going to go anywhere, but I mean these are good points that are being brought up, I believe.
Yeah. And we'll wait a second for Wes to quit getting attacked by the dog.
The dog is mad. That's all right, everybody. I have a dog named Reggie, and someone came in the house, and he's upset about it right now.
He's mad because they're interrupting the recording. That's
right.
He's like, the podcast guard dog.
Stay down. I think the narration, is something that we need to look back and see about on this next episode. One thing before we talk about next week's episode, we may have, because this week has been crazy. We've picked up more followers, more subscribers, more everything. So this may be everybody's first or second episode.
Hi and thank you, and
hi and thank you to everybody. And we're going to bring it up here at the end too. But here, we don't go through and recap the episode. We're assuming that on this you've seen the episode, so there's no reason for us to go back through point by point and tell you everything that happened. I know a lot of Doctor Who podcasts do that, and that's their thing. You've seen it.
This is meant to be, what, more like a water cooler discussion?
Yeah, more like a companion to it. This is us sitting there talking about what we just saw, and hopefully you've just seen it, and then you can make a habit of, I've watched the episode, and I'm going to listen to these idiots talk for a little while about Doctor Who, because we all love Doctor Who. Yeah, and if you don't, great. If you do, wonderful. Talk to us about it. Right now, if you're on and listening, send us tweets, send us emails, whatever you want to do. But I want to talk about this real quick. Two things. One, Mike Tyson tattoo. Dr. Jax woke up on The Hangover and had a tattoo, and that was one way of how we got down, and that was fine. But the other thing, when they defeated the gunslinger with confusion, did anyone else think what I thought? They are stealing the playbook from the Three Amigos here. They have literally went and got the Three Amigos DVD out and said, I know how we can beat the gunslinger. The same way good old Chevy Chase decided to beat El Guapo in the Three Amigos. I'm hoping that people have seen that, because if so, I want you to understand how I thought that when it was going on. It made me laugh. Let's go ahead and talk about next week's episode, the year of the slow invasion. One, fabulous title. The title's been changed several times. I love the title of this show. And watching the preview, this was the one episode before we knew anything really about the episodes that I had the least amount of faith in, because I thought dinosaurs on a spaceship would be awesome. I just did. This episode looks unbelievably good. The fact that the Ponds are just now dealing with the fact that one, and they laid groundwork on this episode with it, where they said our friends are going to eventually start to notice we're older, we're looking older a lot quicker
than them.
Yeah, where then in this preview they specifically point out that they have two separate lives that don't mix, because they have their adventures with the Doctor, and then they have their real lives, and they're going to have to pick. And I think that leads us down a whole different path, because I don't believe that their choice of not going with the Doctor is how their tragic ending is going to happen. They may make another decision and then find out a whole bunch of other stuff.
Okay, to bring that up, do you really not see the fact that they're going to decide that they're going to go with their life instead of the Doctor, and then they're going to get swooped in? Maybe it's the Doctor telling them goodbye, they're going away, but then boom,
something. And we'll get back to next week's episode. I brought this up on Twitter, and I didn't really get a whole lot of response on it, and I'm hoping maybe we can start some conversation on it. The fact that they keep telling us in every single thing,
forcing it down your throat.
Yeah,
it's just horrible.
I picture Stephen Moffat goes to the store to get some groceries, and
some
he's
old women are throwing tomatoes at him.
No, I seen him at the checkout going, "How much did you say it is, ma'am? By the way, Amy and Rory leaving. Tragic ending coming.
It's just horrible."
And the lady's like, "I have no idea who Amy and Rory are. What are you talking about?" That, like, they're saying it to every
his memo line for all his checks are tragic ending.
Yeah, they've got robocalls going out. Everyone thinks they're getting stuff about who's elected. No. It's Moffat telling you tragic ending, Amy and Rory. Shoving it down my that much makes me feel that's the swerve, that he's gonna give us a happy ending, or he's gonna do something in a way. Because here's the thing,
and let's not lie, that's what you're wanting to happen too.
I shut up. I know that's what I want to happen, because I'm going to cry.
And that's another thing for anybody not paying attention. In 2 weeks, you want to watch Wes cry?
I'm going to cry. I'll have cried before we get on the show, but when I start talking about it, I'm going to cry again, because I love the Ponds. I love that Rory's dad, Mr. Williams, was called Mr. Pond. That's how much I love the Ponds. They made a very solid stance about Amy not being able to have children.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And did you not find it weird that when he asked her if she was a mother, there was nothing else said other than her just saying,
Yeah,
damn.
'cause she is a mother. It's just that
Did
her child's 4 years old.
But it wasn't. It was almost like uncomfortable. Like, oh no, what she gonna say?
I'm telling you, and yes, I'm hoping. It's like I'm the home team here. I need them to work out.
Oh, I'm not saying I'm not.
But it just seems so weird that they are that upfront with it.
That he kept Oswin a secret for the opening episode, but he's
which is
telling
still
you,
amazing.
Guess what?
Yeah.
It's going to be tragic. It's horrible.
I just don't. I don't know. I feel like maybe something different's coming. But anyway, back to this episode. Rory's dad's back, which I'm excited. I like Rory's dad.
Yes.
I think he's fun, and I'm hoping that he's back after he's had all these other travels. Because maybe that's where the doctor's been.
Gung ho and everything else about
exactly.
Stuff. Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to how they set this up. I know there was something spoilerish that I found out about. Maybe not this episode. I'm not sure when, but I'm sure it happens this episode to make sense for the 5th episode. So I guess it'll take place in there. I'm not going to bring it up, but it looks like it's going to be fun. I don't understand the slow invasion. If black boxes start showing up all over the world for a year, I think we're going to get real interested in the first month. I think in the first month, everyone's going to be like, timeout.
Well, I am excited because Moffat has said this is going to be an episode with an invasion unlike anything we've ever seen on any form of film.
Well, that's a bold idea. That's a bold idea, sir.
And we
unlike any other.
And
has he not seen Red Dawn? Come on, we've seen that. We've seen invasions. We know how it goes.
How many? We're going to have to start making a list of all the other references we make in these episodes.
Look, here's the thing. We are pop culture junkies. It just so happens we love Doctor Who, and we want to talk about Doctor Who and who it up. It's hooty hoo time around here. We are Whovians, and behooves you to who this. But we and Geekasms, which is Michael's podcast and website, is a pop culture just mecca. Please don't be insulted if you like Mecca, because people are upset about that right now. I am on a podcast where basically me and my other friend who talk about pop culture stuff get made fun of by our other friend that doesn't like it at all. So
everything are cartoons.
Yeah, we shuffle around a lot of different things, but we're definitely going to try to stay Who-centric when we can.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to next week. Kyle has completely disappeared. We don't know what's happening.
He could have said something.
He could have. He just up and ran, which makes me think something fun's happening at his house.
No, I hadn't ever put it because I've got the whole Doctor Who, what we know about the episodes, and I've not updated it lately. And one thing I'd left out because it was just kind of vague, but I feel bad for not including it now because they actually kind of showed it in the preview, was that the Doctor obviously get sick. I mean, there's something going on with one of his hearts and everything else. You can see it because he's clutching his chest and everything else. And it's a reference to those black boxes, so. But I don't know if that's I'll keep my mouth.
Yeah.
I won't say anything else. Since since it wasn't referenced, I won't say anything. So.
Well, I will ask you this. Do you know if the score for next week's episode is as good as the score that they had for tonight's episode?
Tonight's score was good. I didn't even think about bringing that up. I want to say that and we can, I'll get back to it because we can talk all kinds of Who stuff and it doesn't have to be necessarily in reference to this episode. I think that, because I was talking to a person who we're trying to get to start watching it this week, and if you look at where this show has grown from, there are definite leaps. I think once David Tennant came in, almost every episode in the first, season 2 and season 3, you see more production value. Then season 4 was a lot more consistent. The movies that he did kind of as a season, I thought had a really good budget and looked really good. But then when they brought in Matt Smith, they upped it big time. And then I think once we hit the opening of last year with the astronaut, that whole series on has looked beautiful.
Yes.
It is shot. The sound. I love what they've done in creating this new Who theme that it kind of amps up when things get going. It's like, to me, it's like Rocky. It's that dun 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 dun. Like, it just makes me get excited. You can play that, and it's some straight Transformers cartoon, you got the touch, get hype moment. Yeah, mark that one down. I went, you got the touch.
I'm writing him down.
I went, you got the touch on them. It's such a good, like, it really does get me pumped up. And they usually bring that in, but only in, like, key big moments. Like, it wasn't in this episode, but the music on tonight's episode was good. I'm glad you brought that up, Kyle, because it lends a lot to it. It makes the episodes better. The composer's on YouTube, and sometimes he'll post some new cool thing he's working on, and I always enjoy watching that because it's so good. Yeah, that's a good point. It's good. And has the guy that wrote the episode tonight, has he written any other episodes?
I meant to check that before.
Because are you looking that up, Mike?
Yeah, because I should have it written. Who is written by? Let's see here. Called Mercy, written by Toby Whithouse or something.
Yeah, Whithouse or Whithead, something. I'd like to see if it's something. He has a name, sir.
I mean, I hate to keep belaboring the point here, but this episode had comedy, it had drama. I mean, it had everything that a good Doctor Who episode has, and I thought the writing was fantastic.
It had better comedy. This had more good Doctor Who comedy than I thought, which you weren't here for when we discussed it, Kyle. I thought some of the... And look, I love childish humor as much as anybody else. My wife and I pick at each other back and forth with some of the crudest humor you've ever heard. But to me, there were some jokes that were out of place last week, like the here's my balls jokes. Those things were out of place. And it was funny, but it just didn't work on the episode. And this humor was more like, for example, it could be looked at just as crude, I guess, but whenever he says that the horse's name is Susan and that he should respect her life choices, that was hilarious.
Yes, that was, okay,
and it was perfect.
Do you want to know what other episodes for Doctor Who this guy's written?
I do want to know that.
All right, you want to go backwards or forwards in time in terms of the episodes?
Let's go
forwards.
I would like to start the oldest and work my way up.
School Reunion.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Which is the Sarah Jane.
Right. That's what I was going to say. That's the Sarah Jane. That's a good episode.
Then Vampires of Venice.
Ooh, that's a good episode for me.
I like it.
One other one. He's written 4 total, so we've got The Town Called Mercy, but he also wrote The God Complex.
Really?
Yes. That's what IMDb says.
This dude needs to come back more. I like him. Which I guess if he's written 4 in those 2 seasons. Well, no, those aren't 2 seasons. That was before.
He's written
a 10th episode.
He's written.
So he's written under Russell T Davies and under David Tennant.
He's written for Tennant, one each season. Yeah, so far for Matt Smith. Yeah.
Nice. I like him. I think he does good work. I thought it was. I think to me it's kind of, and it's a totally different thing, but it's kind of Kevin Smith-like. His dialogue stands by itself. He creates a conversation that is so strong that you just want to listen. I thought and when you look at this episode, the dialogue that takes place when Isaac saves the Doctor, if you look at the dialogue that takes place between the Doctor and Jex in the cell, like when he first discovers and they go in and have that conversation, and if you look at the dialogue, that's taken between the Doctor and the 18-year-old kid outside. Yeah. That's strong dialogue. Like that's impressive. It's a pleasure to listen to, and I would love to hear more of what this guy writes. Now that being said, I want Moffat to write every single episode and direct them because I think he's a genius. But if we're going to pass it around, give me this guy, some Neil Gaiman, and we're good to go.
Even with all those dramatic scenes, there was always just little lines of dialogue that just made it Doctor Who.
Right.
Like after speaking to the little 18-year-old kid, after all that dramatic dialogue, he walks off and he looks to the ponds and he says, "Scared humans, give me Daleks any day."
Yeah.
Stuff like that. That's Doctor Who.
That's Doctor. That's the Doctor. Every time. It's Pete. There's certain people that can just write it so well. Neil Gaiman can write it so well. Neil Gaiman's only episode is The Doctor's Wife, right?
So far, but he's writing another one. Yeah.
The Doctor's Wife is. I've had trouble doing this. I've got a top 5 for Eccleston and Tennant, and then I keep putting Matt Smith on a different side. One day I'm going to sit down and say these are my top 5 for everybody, and it may be in there. I'm upset that wasn't a 2-part episode because the concept in itself was wonderful, and the dialogue was spot on. Yeah, I need more Neil Gaiman in my life. I need to read some of his stuff. So, do we have anything we need to go back to on this episode before we kind of start closing down a little bit? Nothing?
I'm good.
Yeah, I think we've kind of hit it. Again, we don't recap stuff. We just like episodes and talk about it. I really did. I thought it was a good episode. I think, is it the best episode? No. Is it as good as the first episode? Probably not, because the first episode, even if it wasn't for the fact that Oswald would be a companion later on in life, it is so good a story that you're heartbroken at the end because you've built that bond with the character. But I really liked the episode. I really, 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 really did. Next week's episode, we talked about that. It looks great. Now, a couple things moving forward. As we had said, this week has been tremendous. We have added over 300 Twitter followers. We have added tons of subscribers on iTunes. We have a lot of people are downloading through Stitcher, which I thought was kind of cool. But I know we've had a few people who are on Blackberries and things like that.
Yeah.
And that's definitely looks like the way to do that. We want to thank everybody for all their support. We are getting emails, and if you want to email us, tardis@tphpod.net. You just send
and
it.
If you think we're lying that we like interaction, like every other one, Wes and I probably text back and forth and send Twitter DMs back and forth all day. Did you see this?
Did you see this person? This person's awesome too. Because I love these people. We have, and I'm going to bring some up here in a little while because I want to point out a few people that I had good conversations with. But we are Doctor Who fans. We're making a podcast. We're doing nothing special. We're just putting the conversations that we're going to have via text message or in person online so you all can listen to it and maybe get involved. We would love to open this up and let people come in and talk with us. We may do that next week. Who knows? We would love to have questions, comments, things like that. One thing, Kyle and I had a discussion tonight, and I kind of brought Michael up to speed. I'm not going to share with you everything we talked about because I want to wait and see what you all say, but we would like to hear from you all about Christmas episodes in general. I've gone on record. I love the Christmas episodes, especially the last 2. I thought have been great. I thought the retelling of A Christmas Carol was some very imaginative recreation of a classic story. I thought it was amazing. Mm-hmm. And today we were discussing what other Christmas stories are left to retell. One came up that I'm hoping happens now that I've thought about it. But what we'd like you to do is, if you got ideas about stories they could tell on the Christmas special, send us an email or tweet us about it, DM us, post on the Facebook page, which we just started, which doesn't have a good address yet, or we would tell you it. We want to hear from you because we're going to have a discussion about this. Maybe not next week. The thing we were talking about is if the support we're getting this week continues to build or even just stay steady, we're looking to, instead of maybe just doing episodes when new shows come on, we might do some more stuff in the break. And these are discussions we can have.
Episodes.
Yeah, theme episodes. So if you've got ideas on Christmas stuff, email us, tardis@tphpod.net. You can go to the website and get all this stuff. Michael has set up a subdomain of Geekasms now, policebox.geekasms.com. That's policebox.geekasms.com. And you can get the link to iTunes, the Facebook
Stitcher,
page,
everything,
Stitcher,
Facebook, Twitter, and that's going to be. I'm going to repost the. I'll just say I'm going to repost the post that I create for Geekasms for the episode on there. I'm also going to post the links for these video feeds once they're up on YouTube, and I've already got them in the works. And this is the only place I'm going to put them is all the solicitations and previews for anything Doctor Who related in terms of comic books from IDW and everything else. So it's going to be it's not going to be news. It's going to be everything else.
Yeah,
related to us and
the show.
Else, so.
And I don't know if technically they're still the sponsor for this episode as they were last week.
I'm going to give him credit for it, absolutely, because I've still not got. I want him on Geekasms.
Yeah.
And schedules just didn't work out this week, so I'm still giving him credit for it.
We're going to try to have him on here in an episode, maybe during the off times, but at Geeky Cookies on Twitter, and Geeky Cookies, is it Geeky Cookies, right? .com?
Yes.
They sponsored last week's episode. We'll just go ahead and say they sponsored this week's episode. And again, it's not really like a sponsorship. They make freaking Doctor Who cookies. You can order cookies that are TARDISes and Daleks. Oh yeah, we're not getting paid.
We're not getting anything. But he was just cool enough to say. He was cool enough to say, if any of your listeners, readers, anything wants to order, they can get 10% off. Just use the promo code Geekasms at the end when they check out.
10% off is a good thing.
Yes,
because they're good looking cookies.
Especially when you start seeing these cookies, you're going to be like, I want these.
Okay,
and I want these.
Real quick, people that I got a big list. I'm just going to hit a couple of them. And these are all Twitter names, so if you want to follow some cool Doctor Who people, at Danny Danger OZ. Did you got the touch me? Yes! Show me on the doll. Show me on the doll where you got the touch me. At Danny Danger Oz. At Who's WHOS _he _podcast.
I should just let that play.
You should have. At the Geek Twins, at SF Series Movies, at Sontar Ha, it's SONTARHA, at RWHSB, at Road Home Quilton, that's QILTN, at Firelord65, at W Smith 84. These are all people that are sending us stuff that we had great conversations with.
They got the touch.
They do have the touch. We found there's people in Kentucky that have sent us stuff that are Doctor Who fans that I thought was amazing. Which I
think is cool. That's, no offense to anybody else. But
no,
but
it's
that we're in Kentucky.
Look, we're one. I know a lot of you are in England. We're in the U.S. and Doctor Who's just catching on for normal people. We've been on it from the start, but other people are catching on. But in Kentucky, where you may have heard some stereotypes and found out that we had fried chicken, we're
okay. Let's
Doctor Who is a small thing. There's not a lot of people that know what we're talking about here.
No.
So the fact that someone else in the area knew, that was awesome. And I don't have the name of that person handy, or I would look.
Give me 1 second. I can't find it real quick while you talk.
So we're going to be doing a lot more interaction stuff, and I know we're kind of rambling on at the end, but we're excited about all these people that have came on board.
Yes, very much so.
Now, here's what I'm going to ask you all to do. If you are an iTunes user, what you could do to help us out, if you enjoy the show, if you don't, I get it. We like it. We're just talking and having a good time. But if you like the show, you not know how much it would help us if you went to iTunes, gave us a 5-star rating, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and left a positive review. That helps us bring in sponsors, which helps us pay for a lot of the bandwidth and things we're dealing with. That helps us move up the charts in iTunes, and more people find out about us. Because again, there's a lot of Doctor Who podcasts out there, but I don't think there's a lot of people like us. We're just a couple of American idiots, fanboys that love to talk about Doctor Who, and we love Doctor Who. One thing I've realized listening to other podcasts, people like to pick stuff apart just because they can. If you want me to go in tonight and find plot holes and stuff like that, that's cool. I guess I could do that, but that's not who I am.
That takes the fun. Yeah,
I love Doctor Who. To me, it does. Yeah, I love Doctor Who. I enjoy. You know what? Doctor Who is kind of like pizza and sex. Even when it ain't that good, it's still pretty damn good. Nothing. Nobody.
All I've got.
Come on now.
Yes,
you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Bad pizza is still good pizza.
I'm trying.
It's still pretty good pizza.
Okay, that's for pizza. I've had a couple of times on.
Hey now, what you do on your own time, that's up to you, buddy.
If I look at a bad pizza, I'll reconsider it again and be like, but it's pizza. Now, other times, there's no. Forget that. I'm not going back. So
come on now. Come on now. All right. Well, we again, you can follow us on Twitter at PoliceBXParadox. You can go to the website, which is now policebox.geekasms.com. We have a Facebook page, but we haven't, until a few more people like us, we can't create the cool URL. So you'll just have to go to that page to link.
The like box is on the
Once you all like that, enough people like it. Right now, I think we have 5, which is crazy. And once you all like that, we'll change it to a cool name that we can kind of read off to you. We're
on Instagram.
We're on Instagram, Icebox Paradox. There's a couple other things we're working on. We might need to start a Google Plus page, maybe. Right now I'm just using the tphpod.net one. Let's see. I do know that there was something else we were doing that I wanted to talk about, but I don't remember what it is. I'm excited about all the Twitter traffic we're getting in the conversations, and I'm hoping we can help people in any way we can. I'm hoping people have some questions and we can follow up and talk to them about it. I'm hoping they're downloading this episode and listening. We're getting more viewers tonight than we have before, so that's awesome. A lot of people are just now finishing up, so I'm sure they're doing searches, and that makes me happy.
Out. Yes, and I found the one Kentucky person, Amanda Davis, on Twitter. She's
a chick.
I see it at RAMANDALEE. That's That's awesome. That's somebody in Kentucky watching Doctor Who makes my world a better place.
Although she made it sound like they had a little group and it's like three of us
sitting and watching. I know. Yeah, there and actually a few other people were talking about. And that excites me that people are sitting down and watch Doctor Who in packs. Like people are all getting together and watch it. I know I get grief from my wife because we're not watching it. Yeah, but I haven't been able to since we've been doing this because I got a teenage girl that's gone to the movies and a son that's spending the night with somebody. Although he's back now, I got a daughter spending the night with somebody, and so if I want to wait and watch with everybody, it's tomorrow at best.
And I tweeted that earlier. Whereas, like you've got the whole crew, and I'm just me seeing how the comparisons.
Not only do I got my family that I have, me, my wife, my 3 kids, the dogs watch it, but then Kyle comes over to watch it with us too. Like we group up. Doctor Who is big in this house.
I was about to say the best thing I got is Abby every once in a while playing with my sonic screwdriver.
But she's little. She's little. Maddie, let's see. Maddie is 9. She probably started. She actually probably started when she was 6, maybe watching Doctor Who.
I can't keep Kanan sitting down.
Yeah, the only reason she wanted to watch was because Blake was watching. But I'm telling you, my kids love it. My daughter, my oldest, the teenager, she came home from school the other day so excited because some boy was wearing a Doctor Who T-shirt, and I was like, "That's probably the one I would okay you to go out with." So,
you know what? You asked about the Christmas episode. I'm going to throw something else out there for me. Your kids like Doctor Who. If anybody has I want an episode to get my kids to sit down and watch.
Ooh.
What's an episode that I can get my kids to sit down and watch, and you think they might want to sit there after watching that one? They're going to be like, "I want to watch another."
So it has to be a silly episode, and it has to be like no scary. We can't have we can't have.
And I'll put it on Twitter. And while I'm thinking about it, I brought up to Wes the other day, realizing that somebody might be thinking they were having a conversation with somebody with multiple personality.
Oh yeah,
going back and forth. We're now signing our tweets.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because we both use the Twitter account.
The account. So
yeah, it. Let's see. I'm looking to see if there's anything coming in that we need to talk about. I think we're good on everything here. Here's what you can do. I have a podcast called Those People and Him. You can get to it on tphpod.net. Michael has a podcast, Geekasms, that you can get to on tphpod.net. It's a network, bunch of different types of podcasts. If you want to listen to everybody else, that'd be awesome too. But on my show, we have a phone number that we use for voicemails. We can use it for this too. So if you want to leave us a voicemail that we can play on the show and answer questions, it's 2602 and him. I don't know what those numbers translate because I don't have my show notes from the other show here with me, but 2602 and him. Call it. It'll go straight to voicemail. Leave the voicemail. We'll take that MP3 file and load it up and try to answer questions on air if we can. So that would be cool if y'all want to do that. I'm really excited about everyone that's listening. We've already exceeded my expectations in 3 episodes. So
which makes it. You got to admit, it makes it that much more fun.
It does make it that much more fun that it got this big, this quick, and I'm glad everybody's listening because it's awesome. But go rate and review us. That'll help us out a lot. So does anyone else have anything before we close her down?
I just want some Doctor Who cookies so I can eat the Doctor and he can regenerate into new
There's
cookies.
A whole different... I'm
not sure where to go with that, but I'm excited about it because
your brother
he wants to eat the Doctor, which is fine.
That's all.
Because now he has got me thinking: if I eat a Doctor cookie, does it regenerate? Is it never-ending food supply? Can I keep going?
That would be a cookie.
If I eat it, does it regenerate inside my stomach? Because that would be awkward.
That would be a Captain Jack.
Hey now. Hey now.
Wow,
Hey
that
now.
went. I stopped it. As
All
soon as I
right,
said
ladies
it.
and gentlemen, that is episode 4 of Police Box Paradox. We want to thank you all for listening, downloading, whatever you're doing, just communicating, for being Doctor Who fans. Regardless of whether you like us or don't like us, we're happy you're Doctor Who fans.
Yes.
So you send us emails, phones, you do anything you want to do. We'll be glad to talk to you. We're looking forward to next week's episode of The Year of the Slow Invasion. But until then, we've got the touch.
You've got the touch.
Keep calm and keep regenerating. That just happened. Yeah!